Konnichiwa YouTube, I am Joku.
I'm CJ.
And welcome back to the Chat Room Podcast. On today's episode, we're going to talk about still more gaming stuff, but I'd like to talk about the accessories.
I'm always down talking about game stuff. Accessories, that's a very interesting topic.
It is.
So there's plenty out there.
Well, there's going to be stuff, like I said, there's going to be stuff earlier I talked about that, you definitely had, and there's stuff and things you didn't have.
Oh, I'm pretty sure I've had a few of these things.
Got my notes. Always have notes. Let's start off with Nintendo.
Good old Nintendo.
First of all, obviously, this one basically came with this system, the Zapper.
Oh, yeah, it did.
It came with the Duck Hunt.
Yep.
But question is, did it really have any other purpose besides that game? I cannot remember.
Duck Hunt also came with another shooting game. It was the
Clays?
Yeah.
Well, that was inside.
Yeah.
I'm just saying like a different other game besides, hey.
Those, the only two that I can think of, and those are the only ones that I ever played at least, I mean, I don't think they had any more games for that aside from those two. Let us know if we're wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
Please leave a comment down below. But before I even start the video, I'm going to put a link, or not a link, but in the video, I'm going to put our other channels, Italian Samurai and Super CJ. Those are our other two channels we got. And also to my merch, which is, I'm going to put that in there as well too. So head on to the merch and pick up a shirt, a hat, whatever you guys want to.
Yes.
Yes. And like I said, the two other, our other channels are, I just put one up this morning. I was playing a Switch game called Little Kitty, Big City.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Well, I wasn't this after I only played like a half hour of it, just trying to see what it was about. Then I realized it was only like an hour or 2 hour game, but I only paid like $20 for it.
Oh, hell, that ain't that bad.
So I'll probably finish the rest of it tomorrow. So, yep, don't worry about the dog. Anyways, let's get back to the video. I was like, man, started talking, like, wait a minute, I forgot to say, our other channels. So yeah, the Zapper. Actually, that's what it was called, but I thought it was just called the Nintendo Gun or something. It was actually called the Zapper.
Actually, I didn't even realize it was called the Zapper.
Yeah, I
knew exactly what you were talking about.
I didn't realize it was called the Zapper until like the Wii Zapper came out for this, obviously the Wii.
Yeah.
For Link's.
Yes.
Hey, lay down. But yeah, when I was like looking at it, I'm like, it's called Nintendo. It was called the Wii Zapper. I'm like, what's that? And I'm like, oh, that was called the Zapper. So yeah. I don't know any other games. If you guys can think of any other games that the Zapper worked on.
Yeah.
Please let us know in the comments. Another thing is the Game Genie.
Oh, got a lot of fond memories of the Game Genie, man.
Well, don't get yourself hooked up on the other thing we're talking about, but that's going to come down the line. But yes, the Game Genie. I remember playing that with my brother. We used it on lots of games.
That thing had a library of games on it.
The two games that we really used it on, I don't know if it's a really big popular games, but one was called 8 Eyes.
I never heard of that one.
Yeah, it was a cool game. You had to go through different, like you had to go to Spain, you had to go through Portugal and all these. You had to grab these 8 little different diamonds or crystals. It was a pretty cool game. I'll put a picture in the video, 8 Eyes. And then the other one too was Cobra Triangle.
Yeah, see, that's another one. I don't know that one either.
Oh, it's a great game.
You got to think, though, Nintendo had tons of games, though.
If I'm not correct,
So many games.
I think Nintendo, officially Nintendo, not third parties, I think I've been watching some nostalgic collectors. I think it's like 665, close to 700 games. That's just Nintendo licenses, not the third parties where you see other.
Yeah.
Just Nintendo itself. I think Nintendo had the biggest collection. I think so.
I think so too, because I mean, like, when I think of Nintendo, I think of the mass amount of games they had.
They did. But so yeah, the Game Genie basically helped me out with those two games that we played, Cobra Triangle and 8 Eyes.
Well, I used the Game Genie for I did officially beat this game legitly, the Ninja Turtles game, but I did.
Which Nintendo Turtles? The original one?
Yeah, the original one.
I don't think
would you go in the dam?
Yeah,
and you have-
I know.
that
The
one.
original. I probably got rid of the fucking game before I even got to Game Genie because that game pissed me off before we even got to Game Genie. But so using it for that,
Yeah.
if I still had the game, I probably would have used it for
Trust
that.
me, it made it so much fun.
Because when you're in that damn dam,
yes,
the damn dam,
that's it.
yeah, there's fucking seaweed.
And it didn't matter what you did. I mean, it's just like I can go in there with 4 turtles, and I usually get out of there with only 1. And if I was lucky, 2 turtles left.
Yeah. So the Game Genie was basically like our modern, or cheats and stuff like that. So yeah,
It's basically your old style of mods today.
exactly. It basically worked like you had the Game Genie, and then you put your game into the Game Genie and then into the system. So yeah, the Game Genie. Let's
And
see.
with that note,
Well, we'll get to that story. The other one too was the Power Glove.
oh, the Power Glove.
Have you ever owned one?
I did not own one,
Same here,
but
I had a
I
friend
had exactly. I had a friend who had it. And honestly,
it was a piece of shit.
it really was a piece of shit. It was so weird to use.
Yeah.
But on the note, it definitely looks cool when you wore it.
The power in your hand, bro. The power. Yeah, I was watching some video where they had the Power Glove and they're trying to play Mike Tyson's Punch Out.
Yes.
And they're doing this. They're like, so it's like, it just looks stupid. I mean, nowadays, it probably doesn't look stupid because of all the VR.
Yes.
I mean, you got that VR thing, so you're doing this.
Oh my
but with
God,
the
I've
Punch Out
seen
back in the 80s and early 90s, you go to your friend's house, he's just sitting there
I
like,
think in the 80s, people just walk in front of the TV a lot just to go sit down on a chair. And let's say some kid was doing it, all of a sudden, pop, bam!
right enough. Exactly. Well, I can't really sit there. We were talking about more retro stuff, but talking about modern stuff. When we had the Wii and we came with the Wii Sports, my brother and my wife were playing boxing, and my brother fucking right hooked my wife in the.
Are you serious?
Yeah,
I didn't even know about that.
We were in my room, and they're both doing the boxing thing, and he was like really like getting into it, and he just comes up there and goes boom right in the, and she's like, "Ow!" I'm like, okay. I was like,
It's like,
no
oh,
more.
there.
Like we need to take this into the living room.
It's getting a bit dangerous.
So yeah, the Power Glove. I never really owned one,
Yep.
and stuff like that. But have you ever tried it?
Yeah, like I said, it was just
The only thing I actually used it for was the controller. I didn't really try to like do anything. I just kind of like, okay, the controller's right here. But
I did. I used it both ways.
because I didn't really know what other games to play with that.
Do it like that, and but then they did. Whoever, a friend of mine, I haven't seen this person in ages. I don't even know where they live anymore or where they're at, but he had all kinds of games, and we did play Punch Out because he told me, he goes, "Listen, you can use this," and I'm like, "What?"
Yeah, you tried.
Especially when you think about that time.
Yeah, for real.
You know?
It's like for real. How the hell the game know that you're throwing a punch? I detect.
Exactly, but the damn thing still had a cord to it, hooked up right to the console.
Yeah, so you actually do a wind up, it's gonna pull the fucking system right out of
Yeah. It's like if you had like an entertainment center sitting up, go like that.
The cords back then weren't even like they're like fucking 3 feet.
Yeah, they weren't all that long.
Now it's like you get so yeah, the Power Glove. Let's see here. You were just talking to your brother not about this. The Power Pad.
Yes.
The Power Pad came with a lot of games for mostly. To me, it came with one that the Olympic game.
It's the Olympic game, which was the only game I ever really played it for.
It was basically one of your like Dance Revolution pads.
It was basically.
And basically, you put it on the ground. You had rows of blue circles, red circles,
Yep.
yellow, and green, and then you basically had to run on it. But most people cheated, got on their knees. It's just
Actually, it did turn out me and my stepdad. It wasn't about us trying to cheat like that. You gotta think. Back then, I used to live in a kind of a small trailer. So when me and my stepdad were trying to run in it, it would shake the whole trailer. So my mom says, "Knock it off." So we're like, we still wanted to play the game. So my stepdad, he goes, "You know what? Let's just use our hands." And it turned out to be even better than you actually using your feet.
Yeah, the Power Pad.
I mean, you could win races like crazy with when just using your
when you had
hands.
to do like the 100-meter
Yeah.
dash and shit.
I mean, you were literally almost like Sonic and like, yo.
Exactly. Yeah. So basically, we learn how to cheat. So if you guys get the power pad, you want to win, get on your knees and just start fucking beating the
For
shit.
real.
And here comes like I said, I'm not really sure a whole lot of Nintendo. There's a lot of sets. We're just trying to get the bulk, the main ones out there.
Yes.
But here's one that's, like I told you, like people go crazy over it, even though it wasn't like it was a piece of shit. Rob the Robot.
I never had that, and I've never experienced it in my own personal experience.
I never had it, never experienced it, but I did see videos of it. I'm like, what the
That's the
fuck?
only thing I've
So
ever
basically,
seen.
it was like a robot. He had hands like this, and then you basically he picks up disc and drops them onto a thing, and it helps you play a game. Or you can change his hands out to put the second controller in there,
Yeah.
and you play a game.
Now, the only experience I do have with Rob was Smash Brothers. The character Rob and Smash Brothers.
Yeah,
But
that was it.
That's it.
So, but yeah, Rob the Robot. Like I said, he's probably going for big bucks right now. But
Oh, I'm
people-
sure he is. I mean, I'm pretty sure he's a hot collection topic right now.
Yeah. So people have been watching videos, and all the nostalgia collectors, like, I want Rob the Robot with the box, mint condition, 1,800. It's like,
That's
okay.
gonna be hard to find.
But it's like, so there's an accessory. So, you guys can think of any more stuff from Nintendo, please leave it down in the comments. Let's move on to the Super Nintendo. And guess for one accessory that's the Super Nintendo thing I got on my list. That's right, guys. That's right, kids. The Super Scope.
The Super Scope.
That bitch was a fucking beast, and also took a lot
Batteries.
of batteries.
It took like, I think, what was it?
6D batteries.
That's right. It took 6D batteries.
Because his aunt would sit there, had the rechargeable batteries because
Yes.
those things were, because you guys had two of them.
Yeah.
And yeah, so they couldn't keep up with the fucking batteries back in the day. So his aunt would have the rechargeable batteries, and she'll put them on there, take them off, put new ones on there, and just keep switching them out. But the Super Scope, which was also into the Mario original movie.
Yes, that's right.
They actually put that in there when Mario was taking care of Koopa.
That's right. I actually forgot about that.
Yeah. Even though
Damn.
even though the movie tanked, it's still one of my. I'll go back and watch it.
It's got a cult following.
It does.
It's a part of that.
It does, and I mean, I love the new Mario movie,
Oh,
but
yeah.
that movie right there, we even talked about that in one of our podcasts about the movies and the games, or games and the movies.
Yep.
Check that out too. But the Super Scope, I never owned a Super Nintendo because when I was a kid, we had me and my brother, and we could only afford one system. So when Christmas came around, we got the Sega. I really wanted, like I said in my podcast, I really wanted the Super Nintendo because I always wanted to play Zelda. But that's okay. That's where my love for Sonic came from. But when I came down here, met CJ, he had the Super Scope. I'm like, what the hell, bro? That thing was so badass. It came with a little scope, and
Oh, it was so awesome. And we had a few other games for it too.
it came with like a lot of games for
Yeah.
it. See, that's the thing about the Super Scope than the Zapper, because the Zapper, I only know like the Duck Hunt game. It wasn't
Yeah.
like, hey man, we got this and plus 20 other games just for that. The Super Scope you had, because when you picked a game, it had the little logo for
Yes.
so you know that was only for that.
Yeah. It had the logos right on the cartridge and the cartridge box.
Exactly.
You let you know you can play the Super Zapper with that. But they had, I think it was a function on there where you can semi-auto fire, and then I think you can switch it to where it goes home full on automatic fire.
That was so badass too.
Yep.
So
I had lots of fun.
what other accessory do you think is on my list that you think that you
Oh,
I know
God.
you own another one of these.
I own it now.
No, not now, I was saying, but you guys did back
What I
then.
did back then. Oh shit, bro. For Super Nintendo?
Super Nintendo. It was accessory. Nothing like major, but it was something that came. It's something.
I honestly can't think of it on the top of my head right now.
What about the? It was called a multi tap. It was the additional for the controller, so you can add more controllers to this
Oh yeah, the controller extender thing.
because you only had two.
That's
of them.
right.
So you added that because remember you had that game Secret of Mana.
Yeah.
There's 3 players, but you can't play 3 players on in the Super Nintendo because you only
Yep.
had 2 controller ports. So you had to put that in there, add more controllers to it.
Yeah, because that's how because my aunt and my mom used to love playing Secret of Mana.
That was a
And
badass
every
game,
now
though.
and then they'd hook up the other controller with that and had me play along with it.
That was a badass game. So yeah, Secret
Love that
of Mana. But yeah, so that was an accessory. It was pretty cool for the Super Nintendo.
I didn't even think about that at all. I would have been here guessing forever.
Probably would. What about the mouse? The little clickety click mouse.
I don't think I had that. Oh,
You never played.
I don't
You
think
never
we
played
did.
Mario Paint?
No.
Oh.
No, I didn't.
Oh my god.
I never did play that.
Mario Paint was
I've seen some gameplay of it.
the reason why I was in the mouse because it came with the mouse because there was a game for the Mario Paint and you're basically a fly swaller, and you had to sit there and click all these bugs and it was a cool fucking little. I mean, I downloaded it for the an emulator because for the PC you already have a mouse. And just to sit there and go click, click, it's a fun. It was.
I'm pretty sure it's real easy with a mouse than that nowadays.
Well, no, it's the same. It's the same thing, but it's still. I mean, it's still a hard game,
Yeah.
but still, it's fun because you get the little fly swaller. You just clack, 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 clack. It was a fun game. Not just that, but you also could make music. You could paint. You could do all things. But yeah,
I did see some very creative stuff done with that. So again, I think
that was basically our very first Mario Maker.
Yeah,
I think about it, Mario
I was
Paint,
just
Mario,
getting ready to say it was like an early prototype Mario Maker.
Exactly. So I'm sure people are, hey, you remember that game? Let's make it more where you can play levels.
Yep.
What about the Super Game Boy?
The Super Game Boy.
Yeah, it was a cartridge that you put into the Super
Wait,
Nintendo.
oh yeah, that's right.
And
It was
then
a
you could-
cartridge you can put in. I had that.
And then you put your
I actually forgot
then you
about
put your Game Boy games in there. So you
Yes.
play your Game Boys on your Super Nintendo.
I fucking forgot about that. I actually
there's
had that.
a lot of exactly.
That was fun though, bro. Especially like I remember the first game I put on. Now it's all coming back. Was the Star Wars Return of the Jedi
You put
Game
that
Boy?
in.
That was the first
You
game
put
I
that into your.
Yes. And then obviously I think the second one I did was Mortal Kombat 2. But I had, like I said, I had a bunch of those Game
And
Boy
it would
games.
look like the original Game Boy.
Yeah. It was so awesome.
Yep.
So awesome.
So a couple of accessories right there. Let's move on to Sega. I don't
See, you will have more knowledge of when it comes to
No,
accessories
no.
to Sega
I'm gonna
Genesis
say,
than you.
something because technically I put this into accessory, but it won't work right now because there's no service. But Sega Channel,
Oh, I remember the Sega Channel.
exactly, and that's why I always talk to my other friend John. I'm like, you think that this stuff would work nowadays with the Super Nintendo, with the I'm sorry, not Super Nintendo, but with the Switch and the PlayStation.
Yeah.
Back then, I think 97-ish, maybe 96-ish, somewhere around there. Yeah. The cable company would have the license for Sega, and it would be this whole new thing for your internet. Back then, before we had all this other
what we got now.
cable, but you would get the service for Sega Channel. They'll send you this box, and then you put the box almost like a modem, and then you put your cable into there, and then that will hook up right into your Sega where your Sega games go
No
to.
shit.
Yeah, but it'll also have another slot, so if you don't want to play that, you can just play another game.
Damn.
So basically, if you took the game off and just turned that on in your Sega, it'll hook up to the cable company, and every month there will be 50 games on.
Oh, so they put new games on there
They put 50 fucking Sega games on there. So every month, the
Holy.
most popular games like Sonic, all that
Yeah,
stuff would stay on there, but the games would keep rotating.
Dude, that's
But you have a whole month of say, I remember playing Comic Zone.
oh
That's on the Switch.
shit.
But
Yeah.
I remember playing Comic Zone. And I'm like, yeah, this game's fun. And then at the end of the 30 days, it would switch out. I'm like, where the fuck is that? But if it got too popular, they'll keep it on there.
Yeah.
But Sega Channel, it was like our.
Thing is, I heard of it, but I never experienced it. That was just
dude, we had it for about 3 months.
Damn.
And then my mom's like, it's getting too expensive.
expensive.
It's getting too expensive. And then it just discontinued within a year after that. But it was such a good thing. Not a whole lot of people talk about it, but it was still a pretty cool thing. I mean, it was
brought it up. I would have never.
it was like Sega hooked to the internet. You didn't have to own these games. Seriously, you didn't have to.
That is actually
all
kinda
you needed
cool,
was
though.
all you needed was a Sega. You didn't have to have no games. Your games are just streamed.
Streamed right on there.
Excuse me. It was.
Wow. That's probably kind of game up. That was probably an early type of online play of like getting games.
It wasn't even like
online.
It wasn't even. We didn't even have a home computer at the time.
Damn. Yeah. That was even before then.
Yeah. So it wasn't even dial up. It was just like straight from the fucking cable, and it was so cool because you get to play all these games. It's like you didn't even have to have. All we had at the time was like Sonic. We had Mortal Kombat. We had Contra, and that was like about it. You know, like I said, I didn't really play my Sega a whole lot. I was, like I said, to your other podcasts, you know, growing up in the 90s, I was outside. I was always outside using my imagination. But then you put this in here, like I said, we only own those games. And then you get all these different games. Streets of Rage 2, Streets of Rage 3.
Shit, yeah.
All these fucking Sega games, you know, Beavis and Butthead. I'm like, fuck.
That's right. They did have the Beavis and Butthead on there.
Yeah. I used to play Virtual Bart.
Oh, I remember Virtual Bart.
So it's like all these games for like Sega.
I think they even had that game for Super Nintendo, I think. So that's how I remember that. Because like I said, my experience with Sega was over at my dad's place. Because he had the Sega Genesis there, and my mom's place had the Nintendo stuff. So
you didn't have a Sega at your mom's house? I thought you did.
Well, we eventually did get one, but in my earlier years, my dad had the Sega Genesis. She had the Super Nintendo.
Yeah. So yeah, the Sega channel was, like I said, it was ahead of its time. It was like our early streaming services.
Yeah, it was ahead of its time.
It was. Like I said, a lot of Sega things here. The Sega CD. Like you said, I probably have more. I never owned one, but I did have a friend who had a Sega CD.
I think you mentioned this before, that this person had a Sega CD.
Yeah.
And honestly, I'll tell you this. I thought Sega CD, I didn't know it was an accessory. I thought it was its own console. No. I didn't know it was an accessory.
You needed, now, it needed the original Sega to work, not the Sega 2. So, like I said, I went over there one time. I saw this. I'm like, where's your Sega? They're like, this. I'm like, that's not the Sega Genesis. He goes, no, it's a Sega CD and the Sega Genesis. It was basically like the Sega CD on this side, and then it had like a tray, and you just take your, at the time it was called the Master System or like that.
Oh, yeah.
And then you just right on top of that.
Put it on top. See, I know I'm probably getting ahead of myself. I think 64 tried something like that, but we'll probably get to that.
We'll get to that. So basically, you just plopped on there. Now you could play. You didn't need this game to work with this game. You could like play Sonic CD and all this stuff like that without, but you just needed that to power everything. I guess so. And on top of that, then that's where the 3DX came to.
Oh, really?
The 3DX was basically another accessory that you would put where your games are at in your Sega. It basically would just go right there top.
Oh, so that's where they get that idea from. Okay.
The 32X, yeah.
But could you classify this as an accessory, or was it its own thing?
What?
The Nomad. Was that an accessory, or was that just its own thing?
That was like a portable.
It was like a portable Sega Genesis.
It wasn't. An accessory is something to hook up to.
Okay.
That's what I call an accessory.
Okay, I didn't think so. I just figured I'd just drop it to see.
That's like saying, it's a Game Boy accessory. Can you hook the Game Boy straight to the Nintendo?
Game Boy did have an accessory, which was at the time able to multiplayer that way back then. You had to have a cord connected to each Game Boy.
Yeah, exactly. So moving from Sega, let's see here. We're at the Sega. I was going to put Sega Saturn in it, but I never owned one, and I don't know any accessories. Yep. So I can't really, like, in my head, I'm not going to go and look at it.
But if you guys know, let us know.
I played a Sega Saturn. I remember playing the game called Knight. It was called Knight. She was like a little, I don't know, some Joker girl. I don't know, something. I don't remember a whole lot. I remember my brother's friend used to come over, and he had a Sega Saturn, and then he had like Daytona 500 racing game.
What? Seriously?
Yeah, and that's when my dad used to come in there and play the shit.
Oh yeah, that would be up his alley.
So I would have put it in there because, like I said, I don't have a whole lot of Sega stuff on my list here besides that. And people are like, what Sega? Sega only had like 3 systems.
Yeah.
And I'm not even talking about that. I'm not even talking about fucking the Game Gear. So like I said, I'm talking about consoles only. But Sega like was big, and then it just Let's get back into, like I said, sorry if anybody had a Sega Saturn, go ahead, enjoy it. I know there's a lot of other systems out there like the Jaguar and all these other
so many weird things.
the Neo Tech or some weird stuff.
They had a bunch of weird stuff.
Let's get back into the 64.
I'm down for the 64.
That's what I got. Me personally, I think the 64 and GameCube were my two closest consoles. Not trying to say it's Nintendo, but I don't know. It's just something about those. They hit home for me.
You know what? You're a Nintendo boy through and through, no matter what. So
I guess so. I mean, if Sega was still around, I would love for Sega to get their shit together and make a new console.
True.
I would love to do that, but now they're making Sega games, but they're just giving the PlayStation, Xbox, and
because basically, kind of like almost everyone's got a slice of Sega these days.
But Nintendo, the expansion pack.
Yes.
Which was that little jumper pack inside of your 64 where you had to basically put more memory into to play Majora's Mask.
Yeah, I was going to say that was mainly because of Majora's Mask that came out.
Basically.
Yeah.
Any other game, I didn't really see it, but basically it was like you can't play this game without that. But it came with it, though.
Oh, so when you bought the game, it actually came with it?
It came with it.
Okay, because see, I never actually purchased the game, so I never played it at that time. I played it more recently with the Switch, but...
Wait, you never had that game on the 64? I fucking thought you did.
Nope.
Ah, damn.
That was only you, bro.
I thought you had the same thing. Like, cause I know you had Ocarina of Time before me.
Yep.
But okay, so yeah, the expansion pack was that little thing, and now a lot of people, like I said, when I see a lot of game collectors and they see an old 64, that's the first thing they pop up and make sure it's in there.
Oh,
they do. It's like as soon as they go, 64, pop it open, and it goes, oh,
hey, let me see if this sucker's in there.
Because if it's just an old original jumper pack, they're like, oh, okay, well, how much is it? And the guy's like trying to give him for like this. He goes, no, you're missing the expansion pack. Take off $100 for the damn system. I was like, God damn. But yeah,
shit, they weren't fucking messing around.
Exactly. That's the first thing. Every time you see like one of those collectors, they see a 64 somewhere in a garage or a game con or something. They see a 64. The first thing they pop that thing open. If there's no expansion pack in there, take some money off of it.
Man, these collectors, they don't mess around, do they?
That's the first. I'm like, damn.
Holy shit.
There's a lot of things. Here's the thing about the 64. We got the Rumble Pack.
Yeah.
So the 64 system only had at the very bottom of the 64 controller had a little slot.
Yep.
And a lot of games for the 64 you could not save your game. But most of the stuff like Zelda could, Mario 64?
Yeah. Mario 64 was
some games had it, embedded into the cartridge where you can actually save the games. But most of the times you had to put a memory card in there.
Now, some of them, there was actually some games where it actually used both. Like Mario Kart 64, for instance, used its own save file, but you can save your records of certain tracks onto the little memory card, which I did do for a contest. We're not going to go into that, but...
yeah, that was actually one of the other podcasts we talked about.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the 64 had only one slot. So basically, the next thing we're talking about is the Rumble Pack. So basically, you had your memory pack or your Rumble Pack. So basically,
pick one.
You had to pick one. You want vibration on your actual feedback from playing games, or you want to save your games.
But also, here was the other thing too. Not every 64 game actually had Rumble Pack features.
That's true too.
So if someone was actually easier choices than others, but like if there was a game that could do both, that's what you had to pick and choose.
Like I was saying about Star Fox. When that game first came out, it's only
because it has its own save files and you can use Rumble Pack, so you had the best of both worlds on that one.
Exactly. Well, you didn't really have the same file because that game you didn't save. You basically played it all the way through.
That's true.
So it's not like you get to a certain level, you're like, I'll finish that game. It's only an hour game.
At least.
So it's not like you get to a point and go, I'll finish it tomorrow. It's like, no, you finish. It's not like Mario where you get to a certain...
And let's say, even if you did have to stop, you're just like, you know what? I'll just start the game when I get home.
Exactly. It's like, I'm at time. My pizza rolls are done. It's an hour game. Go. So yeah, so basically this is before, this is like our first time that we actually felt feedback from our controller.
Yes.
64 was like that. It's like you put that Rumble Pack in there, you're like, oh my god! It's like you play a racing game.
I believe that was originally done by Nintendo to finally put
Yeah.
like a
because
vibration into the controller, because even at the same time,
the PlayStation didn't even have that.
they were out at the same time, but the PlayStation controller did not have a rumble function.
Nope. The first system did, but we'll get to that. We'll get to that.
Okay.
So yeah, we talked about the expansion pack, rumble pack, and the next thing would be the racing wheel.
Dude, I got fond. No, me and you both have got fond memories of that racing wheel.
This is when like I don't know if people still use these things these days.
Actually, they have like advanced versions of these things now.
No, I see some people playing.
Yeah, it's like it's a whole freaking setup, and it's
this
like
thing here
I can
was
afford some shit like that.
this here was the first one like of like the consoles.
Yeah,
because I don't think PlayStation. I mean, PlayStation had one, but when but like I said, I'll get to that in my note. But so yeah, we got you got it first. You brought it to my house. I was like, oh, this is cool.
it's like you can easy too. It's like the steering wheel. It's like you sit on a chair or your couch.
Yeah, it had a steering wheel, and then it had a little you put on your legs. So you sit like this, and then on the floor had the little foot pedals.
And that hooked up to the 64.
No, the foot pedals hooked up into the console,
and the
then that goes to the console. Exactly.
That's
so,
right.
I think the first game we played was San Francisco Rush.
Actually, mine was actually Mario Kart 64.
Okay.
But I think the first one I played with you was Rush.
That was a bad. I mean, the fucking
that made it so much more fun, especially the way that racing game at that time was like more of like that game had more like reality style racing to a point.
Yeah, it wasn't
outside of like games like Mario Kart or something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, it was cars and you race, and I mean, it's like you're gonna jump up high if you get high enough speed.
Yeah. So I remember, like they said, the racing wheel.
Very fun.
And then it comes to the other one was the upper version from the Game Genie, the Game Shark,
which I also had.
Yeah, we all had that. But as much as we were, getting to the story here, we thought that the Game Shark would have more of a library than the Game Genie, because the Game Genie had a lot of stuff.
had a lot of shit. The Game Shark didn't have a lot.
No, it didn't really have a lot.
But you know what the Game Shark did have? And I ended up eventually getting one because I needed it. It had like a book you can purchase that had all kinds of games in it for 64, all the codes for it.
But some games weren't always in there.
True.
And that's when we first had our internet, so you had to go into, I remember there was a website called, it was ccc.com.
I remember that.
It was like centralcheatcodes.com.
Yes.
And you can go in there and go to Game Shark, and if they uploaded it, because this was something where you couldn't just like, oh, they're going to patch it. You couldn't patch it. It was already built into the fucking thing. So it's like, if you bought version 1, you get 50 games in there.
Yep.
If a new version comes out, they will release another one. You had to go out to the store and buy. You just couldn't like plug up to the internet and update.
Yeah.
You couldn't do it.
You just can't do that.
You couldn't like update the damn thing. So it was like basically hardwired into the fucking thing. So when we first got the Game Shark, I'm like, cool, we can like put anything. So we didn't know, because Game Genie was Game Genie, and it's been a while since we actually did that. So we were like, well, we're going to play San Francisco Rush, and we realized the game wasn't built into the into the Game Shark. So we're like, okay, we'll just add it in there.
So we added in there.
So we're like, okay,
put the name,
put San Francisco Rush, and he's like, well, what kind of code you want? And I'm like, let's put flying cars.
My God.
So we're like, okay, cool. So then we put it in there, start the game, pick our car, pick our track.
Yeah, you had to pick it too, because like once you made the code, you had to click it to make the code work.
Exactly.
So we clicked it, get in there, and
then we hit a ramp, and we just do a regular jump, and we're like, where's our flying cars at? We just jumped, and then it just hit the ground. We're like,
we're soaring here, but we're not actually flying.
No.
So I mean.
Yeah, we just hit it really good. We just got some air. We're like, we're not.
This is what we normally do.
And we're
What's going on here?
We thought this thing was broken. And I'm like, what the fuck? And then we realized, like, oh, you had to go actually see whatever is hardwired into the thing. So then we're like, okay. And then after we realized what was working, we're like, what games are in here? So then we like find out. Then we like go to our library and go, that game's in here. Then we start cheating like a bastard.
Yep.
Then we start cheating like bastards. Now,
I think correct me if I'm wrong. Did they have Mario 6? I mean, not Mario Kart, but Mario 64?
I'm sure there was. I'm sure there was.
I think that
If there was
one of the earlier
if
games.
there was a
so
more if it was a more popular game, sure it was in there.
yeah,
But
it was also one of the earlier games for 64 too.
it
So it had to have
was the first game for 64.
Yeah.
I think it was a launch title.
Yes.
This is something you're talking about, the Sega CD. There was a 64 DD for the 64,
Yeah.
but it was supposed to be it was supposed to be an expansion pack for the whole 64, because if you flip the 64 over, there's a little cover that you pop off, and then there's a little slot there. It was supposed to connect to that to enhance certain games.
And the first game I think was supposed to be for that
Zelda.
was Zelda. It was this was before Majora's Mask came out, so this was supposed to be some kind of like expansion to Ocarina of Time.
And it was in Japan for like maybe 5 months, and then they just trashed it. Completely trashed it. But other than that, I don't know.
The potential of it could have been great.
It could have been, but it also would probably be a whole lot expensive.
Yes.
Let's get to the PlayStation.
I'm sorry.
That is where they brought into the DualShock controller.
Yes.
The built-in. That was the first system that actually came in there where you didn't have to
built-in rumble.
Because not that's why I say that's accessory, because the original controller that came with the system wasn't that. It was just it didn't even have joysticks on it.
No. They finally took the first DualShock to actually put analog sticks on.
Exactly. So basically, you just take a PlayStation 5 controller, chop off the joysticks. There's your PS1 controller.
That was it.
There was no joysticks. It was just a D-pad and your buttons.
Yep. Every PlayStation from on then, basically.
And then after the DualShock came out there, it came with joysticks. I remember when you got one, I was like, "What the fuck?" And then it came with the DualShock and then the Rumble Pack in there. I was like, "Oh, that's awesome!" And then that was the first system that came out with the controllers were built-in Rumble Packs. But they still had memory cards. But here's the thing:
you could actually stick the memory card right into the console.
Yeah, right into the console.
So you didn't have to trade off anything. You just like, you know what? I'll use it and I'll use the Rumble Pack.
PlayStation, Sony, you guys did a good job where you brought out the built-in Rumble Pack and then the memory card right over top of the controller slot. And then you can save your game.
But it's actually nice though that we don't have to use memory cards anymore these days.
For real, man.
I mean, those things did get a little pricey depending on how big size memory card you wanted.
They were 8
but I think there was bigger ones too.
That was it.
No. I thought there were different sizes.
Maybe they were. Maybe third parties made them.
Okay. Yeah, because I know I had a bunch of weird colored ones.
Yeah, the clear blue, clear green. Yeah.
Had bigger sizes in them.
Yeah, but I mean, like I said, because you want to.
What was actually really cool about those? Because if you wanted just one game for that one particular memory card, it had like little thing where you can write down what game.
A little sticker.
Yeah.
Yep. Because
which was really cool. You're like, okay, let me grab this and put it in there and
exactly
put on the game.
Exactly. So you had the DualShock, the memory card, and the PlayStation 1 also came with one of those multi-tap. Because remember, that was also another system that had 2 ports.
Yeah.
The 64 had 4, right?
Yeah, the 64 was standard for 4.
Yep. So PlayStation came out with only, again, 2 controllers. So basically you had to buy that and you want to apply 3 or 4 people.
Yep.
So that was an accessory. And then I think they came out with a racing wheel too, but I think when PlayStation came out with their steering wheel, they came out with Gran Turismo, but that was the first time they came with the
stick shift.
The stick shift.
Nice. Yeah.
So that was the plus for that.
Yep.
And I remember people play Gran Turismo with the.
Actually, I never did get to use that one ever, but. It was just the 64 one that I ever used up until that point in time, but the PlayStation one I never actually used. I wanted to. It just didn't happen. It was just at the time just too expensive for my mom to get something like that. I mean, after getting already the PlayStation, the DualShock we already talked about, and everything just adds up.
And of course, PlayStation, they also had a Game Shark too.
That's right. They did have a Game Shark.
but it wasn't a CD. It was that little adapter that went on the back of it.
Yes, it hooked up right in the back, which was very similar to another adapter, but we'll get that to another story.
Oh, yeah, it's PlayStation. You can talk about. What, you're talking about your import Dragon
Yeah,
Ball?
the import for
The import. Yeah. So basically, that you had another adapter, went to the same thing for the Game Shark, and it came with a little spring because you had to.
Yeah, they
Because when you closed the lid from the PlayStation, it had a little hook that basically pushed the button down to let the system know that the lid's closed.
yes.
So the spring would activate that. You put it on there so it would close it, so it would pretend the lid's closed. So you put a normal PlayStation game in there, let it boot up till the right.
Yeah.
Then you would, while it's still spinning, you got to pop that out.
Yeah.
Take the import, put it in there, and it'll just before it make that little noise.
Yep.
You got to put it in there, and then it'll just boot up your.
I remember.
Your import.
Yeah, I remember. I got that. I think it was at a GameStop that I got that.
No,
Wasn't a GameStop?
no, you were in a Daytona in the flea market.
Oh, that's right. It was at Daytona. I got that shit.
Remember
I think he had the Dragon Ball game that I got for it too.
Yeah,
right?
because that's when we got our imports. When we started
Yes.
that's when we got like some of the Dragon Ball imports.
Yeah. Good times on that there.
So yeah, that was cool too because we're playing Japanese games on the PlayStation American because
Yep.
we freaked out the system. I'm not gonna really I'll talk about it, but you only had the system for like less than 24 hours.
Oh, yeah, I know exactly where you're going.
The Dreamcast.
Dreamcast. Yeah.
It had potential. The whole fucking system had, but that's where Sega dropped the ball, and that's when Sega basically just. But
now I do know you ended up getting your own.
Oh yeah.
You had a game. You had the Sonic game.
Of course.
You had this game. I think it was called Crazy Taxi or something like that.
Crazy Taxi.
Now I knew you were kind of addicted to that game for a little while.
It was weird, but I mean, it was. You know what? It was crazy.
Exactly.
And basically, all you were a taxi guy picking up people, and you just had to drive crazy around the city to drop them off. You're a taxi guy. But the thing about the Dreamcast is, I remember when your stepdad got it, and you told me that early morning, you're like, "We got the Dreamcast," and I was like, "Yes!" It's like I want to come over and play Sonic Adventure. And then the next day, I get off the school bus, I get off his stop, and we go over there. I'm like, "Where's it at?" And you're like, I don't know. And then you ask your stepdad, he goes, "Oh, I took it back." I'm like, "Why?" Because he couldn't play DVDs.
Yeah, my stepdad, he got it only for the fact that he thought he heard a rumor that he could play DVDs.
Yeah.
So that was his only reason of grabbing the Dreamcast.
And I want to play fucking Sonic. And I get there, and he's like, "Well, I already took it back." That's right, because you guys took that back to get the PlayStation.
Yeah, that's right. Which I also...
Oh, no.
No.
You guys grabbed something. Was it the PlayStation? Was it PlayStation? No, maybe you guys did grab PlayStation.
No, it was the PlayStation.
Was it was PlayStation?
Because I remember after we got that back, he got the PlayStation, and I remember my first game I got for the PlayStation, which was WCW Thunder. That was the first game I got.
No.
Unless I'm mistaken on that one.
Maybe you guys didn't get the play. Maybe you guys already had the PlayStation. Then maybe he got some of his money back and he bought a game.
That could have been it.
Or maybe you guys got another PlayStation. I don't know. But because you guys had a PlayStation, I don't know. But I was so pissed about that. I'm like, yo, I want to play Sonic. But the Dreamcast came out with a thing called UMV. It was basically another weird ass controller. Came with 2 slots, and you put this thing in.
I remember seeing those.
Yeah. Because in Sonic Adventure, you can go into an area and collect these stupid little blue things. And then basically what it was is that you put them on your memory card or your UMV or whatever it's called, and you pop it out. It was almost like one of those damn pocket things we're talking about with your brother.
Oh.
Those little...
Yeah.
Yeah, those little things. Hey, you got to feed them and all that stuff. So you save that stuff from Sonic on there, and then you can go to school and like, okay, I gotta feed my little dude, and then
what?
Yeah, you boost them up and then stuff like that.
Honestly,
so then when you go home, and then you put them in, and all you do with that thing is you race them. And then you go, yeah. So basically, I don't know. So that, and then I think Dreamcast was the first system that came out with a modem to hook up to the internet.
Was it?
Yep. They had a modem that you could hook up to it.
I thought PlayStation was the first to do that.
PlayStation 2 had a.
Yeah.
I'm talking about. This is.
This was Dreamcast before PlayStation 2? I honestly,
I think PlayStation 2. Fuck. I don't fucking remember. No, I think Dreamcast came out because PlayStation 2 came out when we were more farther into high school.
Okay.
So Dreamcast came out before PlayStation 2.
Okay. So yeah, the Dreamcast had that and before the PlayStation 2 came out, yeah, so Dreamcast would have been the first to do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Because I was still in high school when I played Dreamcast. But it also came because it was also the same time. I remember when they came out with the web TV.
Oh, I remember the web TV.
Yeah, it was fucking huge. Where you don't have to own a computer. All you need to do is hook this to your cable, and here comes your keyboard and mouse, and you can have the internet on your TV.
I think an early, like a prototype smart TV from back then.
Yeah, I remember my mom bought one of those damn things, and she's like, "You know, hook this up." I'm like, "Yeah." She goes, "You want to?" I was like, "No." I'm like, "It's stupid." It's like, what happens if you want to be on the fucking web, and then Dad wants to watch racing? We're gonna do
Exactly.
So this, I think we fucked that. We just got a PC. You know, back when fucking PC.
I think I was there. I think I was hanging out with you when your mom brought home your first PC.
Yeah, exactly. No, I was there. It was just me.
Oh, it was just you?
Yeah.
I think I came over the next day. Then.
You came over the next day because I remember like when we first got our PC. Not to get off subject for our podcast, but when we got our PC, it's like I'm like, yes, man, access to Dragon Ball.
I remember that.
You know, I mean, yeah, as a kid, you want to look at porn, but your parents are home. But I'm like sitting there thinking like, yes, it's first thing. I'm like, my mom wants to get on it. I'm like, thinking my dad wants to get on it. My brother wants to get on it. So I'm like, fuck, I'm not gonna get a chance to watch, look at fucking Dragon Ball Z pictures. But then in 10 days, like, my dad went to go watch NASCAR. My mom fell asleep early. My brother went to his friend's house. I'm like,
you're like, oh my!
And I remember I remember being on that damn PC. It was like 9 o'clock at night, right? And all I remember is just Dragon Ball, because it's like I want to know more about stories and stuff, right? And all of a sudden, I remember my mom waking up. And she goes, "You know what time it is?" And I just looked over. I saw the sun. I'm like,
wow, where'd the time go?
I wasn't even tired, bro. My eyes are glued to the web, bro.
I guarantee your eye were bloodshot. You didn't even know it.
Like I said, I'm like, it was like 9 o'clock at night. I said, everybody, my dad went to go watch them. I was like, okay, cool.
You took full advantage.
I took a full advantage of that. But yeah, so back to the Dreamcast.
Yeah.
It had a modem where you can hook up to the internet. It came with the keyboard and mouse, and then you can you can look up on the internet. There was like another way to. If you don't have a PC, you can just use your Dreamcast. It came with a little disc, Windows. You pop that in there and let it run up. And
the old Windows disc.
All Windows disc.
Holy shit!
Yep, came with a little disc, and you had to boot up to that stuff. Yeah.
Holy shit! I remember those, man. You could actually get those in magazines and stores at that time.
Like the kind of Burger King.
Well, yo, that too. It's like those things would give just people that were just trying to give them away.
You want one? He's like, no. He's like, you sure? Here's 5 of them. What the fuck I need 5 for? So the Dreamcast was a short-lived. So I don't think there's a whole lot of accessories besides the mouse and keyboard for the modem and that.
I think that was the only thing for that, to be honest with you. And I even have very faint.
Exactly. I mean, I didn't even own the memory card because it's like I thought it was pretty stupid.
Yeah.
I only had a couple games for the Dreamcast. Like I said, Sonic,
Crazy Taxi. Those are the only 2 that I know of. Unless you had another one.
I had Sonic Adventure 2, and that's when I started playing Dead or Alive 2.
Oh, you started on the Dreamcast?
That's where I came to.
Yeah.
That's when I found my love for Kasumi.
That's where it came from.
Let's jump over to PS2. If you guys remember anything for the Dreamcast,
yeah, definitely. Let us know.
PlayStation 2, we're getting into the 2001 era, and we're still using memory cards.
Yes.
You think by now that we have something where we can build it into it, because at the time we already had our PCs, and you think by now the PlayStation 2 would have inbuilt.
You would think so.
You know. So yes, the memory cards still exist. Also, they came out with the multi-tap, which was because remember there's only 2 slots for your controllers.
Yep.
I think PlayStation 2. I didn't put it on my list.
I think they had a little device to actually have a wireless. That was the first starting the wireless.
That's when I didn't have it on my list, but when Suji said that, I'm like, yeah, exactly, because I remember low tech
Yeah.
was the thing where you put the adapter into the thing and it would read that.
Yes.
So you could be sitting on, you're like, oh my god, no controller.
That was our first experience with wireless video game controllers.
It took batteries to for the controller.
Yeah.
So yeah,
but thankfully, honestly though, even though it did take batteries, the batteries lasted a good while. It was actually a good battery saver.
It did.
So I mean, honestly, they did a really good job.
Well, you still had to get up and go turn your system on.
Yes,
we didn't get that to the Xbox 360 where you can,
was it Xbox 360?
360 was the first one where you can because I remember when, not to go too far into the modern games, but I remember when I first got the 360. And all I had was in my bed was my TV controller and my Xbox controller. It's like, I have to get up. I literally slept with the controllers in my bed. So I had to just get up, grab myself, and go, beep. All right.
Oh, dude, it's like, I ain't getting out of fucking bed.
I didn't have to. I was still in the covers and just go on my thing and grab it.
You're like,
click.
That's a little too cold. I'm gonna stay right here.
For real, it's like we got so lazy, man. It's just like it was the coolest thing ever. Like when you go through all this, like I said, I'll be 40 this year. You're already 41, but still, it's like we lived through all these changes, and then we can see how back in the day when you're like. You had to go up there and then you had to play a game. You had to turn your system on.
Yep.
And if you go sit down and you want to restart, you had to get back up, hit the reset button.
Yep.
The controllers only had a 3-foot wire, so you had to be real close to the system or your system up here. And then you had to be real close to the fucking thing. But when that shit came out for the, wireless, you're like, okay, cool. Like I said, when you were talking about the PlayStation 2, and then you still have to go turn your TV, your TV remote, but you still have to turn your system on. But you can all right, nobody's going to trip over my wire, because if you had to get up and go across, you hit the wire, throw your fucking system off the fucking thing. A bunch of times we did that, but still, but when the Xbox 360 came out, where you actually turn your system on with the controller, it's I just left my shit in my bed and just went to bed, wake up and go
pretty innovative.
TV on, and then beep. But so yeah, the wireless adapter for the PS2, I have one of those.
So did I.
It was cool. It was cool because you have to, not being lazy not to turn your system on, but it's still you have to fucking wire.
Yeah, the wire.
Because then I could sit real far away from my TV, real get comfortable in my bed in my room and play.
Yep. It was quite the thing at that time.
PlayStation 2 was getting really good because this is where they first came out with the iToy.
Dude, camera. I remember that.
The camera.
Yes.
But I didn't have one for the PS2. We got one for the PS3.
Yeah, I think my first one. I think you gave it to me for the PS3.
No, you bought one.
Oh, I did buy one.
You bought one.
I thought you gave me my first
one.
No, okay.
Because remember we were playing that one thing where you make all your faces and shit. Yeah.
Which actually, honestly, even to this day, I still have some of those pictures.
But yeah, so PlayStation 2 came out with the iToy, and then.
That was very interesting.
For because it was basically the first camera for a system.
Yep. Now, PlayStation 2 didn't have VR, did it?
No, VR didn't come out.
I didn't think
VR didn't come out till VR didn't come out till PS4.
Okay. I just felt compelled to ask because I was like, did it or did it not?
No,
it's my imagination.
No. But PlayStation 2 was I think the first system to start really making online games.
Yeah. Because I think San Andreas, even though
it's not even that, but they
had the first ever GTA Online style.
Nope.
No?
Nope.
I thought they did.
Nope.
I thought it was San Andreas. What did it then?
San Andreas was co-op.
I thought I heard something.
PlayStation. GTA 4 was the first online type thing, but it wasn't really it wasn't.
I thought San Andreas had a prototype of it where people actually got on there.
No, they probably modded the shit. for the
That's
for the Xbox,
probably- you know
probably for the 360.
Yeah, that could have been it because I could have swore I heard
San
something like that.
Andreas was 2 players. Because remember, we used to play 2 players.
Then I remember.
Because I remember,
Because
like,
you always made fun of me for looking at the side of the car and I'm going
because remember,
water.
San Andreas, you would sit there and hit, and then you would become like not CJ, but you would become like one of the just a random
Like an NPC somewhere. Yeah.
and then you get to pick you want whatever, and then you just whatever. But no, PlayStation 2. They also came out with the headset, the network adapter.
Yes.
Because I remember I had a network adapter, and I also had a headset because me and my brother used to play SOCOM.
Oh shit, that's right. I remember you playing SOCOM. Didn't you like? What the hell was it? Like, didn't you and your brother play that almost religiously, almost for a
Yeah.
while?
Oh yeah, really?
I thought so because I'm like,
That was before Call of Duty.
yes,
That was before Call of Duty.
yep.
SOCOM was a badass fucking game.
I remember. I think this was also for PlayStation. One of my first, I think, stealth style games was Splinter Cell.
Splinter Cell was
I
good.
actually got addicted to that
Splinter
game.
Cell was a good game. Trust me.
I got
Splinter Cell.
addicted
But
to that game.
also too with the headset, because that was the thing. Also too, they came with the headset, so you can like start talking to people online.
Okay.
So that right there in that era, like towards 2002-ish, when we graduated high school,
Yep.
is when PlayStation 2 started getting into the online game.
Yeah.
So basically, that's basically when we had online game back around 2000 on the PlayStation 2.
Man, that's a long
Yeah,
time, man.
exactly.
We were there.
And then when you first did like that, I mean, it wasn't full on like online.
Yeah.
It's just certain, but it's like when you first did it back then, it was like the weirdest thing. You're like,
Yeah.
who am I talking to?
Exactly.
It was like because like you in your room talking, and then you're like you can hear, or like you just be like with my brother be talking, playing it, right?
He was.
And you just weren't used to like walking by his room and hear him talking to something like he's not on the phone.
You're like, because it's not like you had the phone out in the living room, and like you're like, okay, the phone's there. Who is he talking to?
Yeah. So it was like before cell phones and all that stuff, and your
We had
landlines.
cell phones, but it's not like
No, it wasn't.
everyone was on them all the time.
No.
either, because the phones we had were nothing like it is today.
Just make a phone call. That's all it
Yeah.
was. But
Just make a
back
phone
then
call.
so we weren't used to like hearing my brother talk to
Just
somebody,
Talk out of nowhere.
and because back then playing a game, you had to be in the same room, 2 controllers, 1 TV.
Yep.
So when you start playing online, you're like, you start hearing all the, you put the thing on there, you start hearing all these people talking, and it wasn't really like today where you got all these fucking shitheads talking shit, trash talk. It was basically when you played when we played SOCOM, you actually heard people trying to
play the game.
yo, I got your 6, I got your 3, whatever, it's like teamwork shit. Nowadays, you just get in there, there's a bunch of fucking, shut up. That's why now, in our other podcast, where I said I'm more of a story person.
Same here.
Because back then, it was a whole lot different. You're trying to play a game with these accessories. You're trying to win the game. It's like, hey, man, I got your 6. Hey, clear in here. I'll go this way. You go, it's like teamwork.
You were on a team. You did the objective of the game.
PS2 was probably the first time you started playing that stuff, and you're like, "Where you at? I'm in China, or I'm in the UK, or where I'm in Africa."
That was crazy too.
And you're just like, okay. But the thing is, you start talking to these people. You're like, "Yo, what's the weather over there?" You just start having these conversations. It's like, and then you start to get to know these people on a daily basis. You start making like we do now.
Yep.
And it's like, they're your friends, but they're not your friends. Like, I don't even know who these people. I mean,
Exactly.
I do know what they look like Sig and Loon.
Yeah.
I saw the pictures.
Yep.
But it's like I never
for that time.
I mean,
you couldn't just send a picture and like, oh, hey, this is what I look like.
Exactly. But it's still one of the things. Like nowadays, it's like I still, we never like met in the same room and sit down and have pizza or anything. You know? But it's like I still know those. But it's like PS2. That was the time when you start get to know these people. And you're like, yeah, man. I start talking. I got friends. Like, how many friends do you have now? It's like 50. Where are they all at? Well, one's in Mexico, one's in California, one's in New York, and we play SOCOM. So PS2 was the first system that really kind of embraced that to our knowledge and our brains to go.
Yep.
Also, PS2 came out with another racing wheel, but with feedback. So basically, it was more.
Oh, it had more like that resistance, like if you're actually driving.
Yeah.
You feel, okay, yeah.
John had one of those, and he had a game called Ridge Racer, and like when you hit the wall, you could feel in the wheels. It was really,
That's cool.
It was like, this is fuck what I'm talking about, because like the one for 64 and the PlayStation, you just hit a wall.
Yeah, you just kind of like
you just do this. You're like, okay, yeah, but this one you actually felt it.
And it's weird now the fact that you say that, and PS5 now, the way the controller is, if you're playing a game with cars like that, you hit a wall, you feel it in the analog stick. It feels exactly like that. It's crazy.
The controllers now, like I said, especially the haptic controllers.
Yeah.
Like when I'm playing Stellar Blade, and if I'm just out in the rain, you can feel parts of the vibration.
It's the same thing even in the GTA 5 and the PS5 version of it.
Yeah,
you feel the rain. You can feel the car
it's not the
idling.
It's not the whole controller. It's just it's parts of it.
It's only parts.
It's so cool. So like I said, the feedback.
That's attention to detail right there.
That's back when, like I said, the feedback for
So I mean that probably right there was already the idea was already planted.
And so if you guys have any more PS2 accessories, please let us know. Like I said, we've been trying to stay to this, but we start talking about other stories of like because it's just connected.
Just kind of connects.
My other favorite console was the GameCube.
Oh yes, I love the GameCube.
Like I said, the GameCube in '64.
It was actually GameCube was like the first Nintendo that I think that actually had discs.
Yes.
And it was these tiny little discs that were like this big.
But you know what the thing is? The graphics on the GameCube
was so good.
Because you know why? They were using an actual processor, an AMD processor for the computers.
Because honestly,
when I first played Star Wars Rogue Squadron, I'm delighted. I'm like, dude, excuse me. I think the GameCube was ahead of the time.
It was. I mean, honestly,
when I first played Mario Sunshine, water
looks so good.
I'm like, dude, it looked fluent.
Yeah,
it just looks so like, dude.
Honestly, I remember. I'll say this now, and I probably never openly said this before until now. I was sitting there thinking, I'm like, man, that water's gotta taste so good because it looks so clear and just so
It's just so. I mean,
I'm like, I wanted to get it close and just.
So I mean, the GameCube was such a good system. Again, here you come. It came with a memory card.
Yes.
Still, here we are in the 2002, 2003 area, and we're still got memory cards.
Still using this thing in memory cards.
I'm like, damn, man. We need to get out of this damn memory card shit.
No, we eventually did. So,
controllers came with the Rumble Pack.
Mm-hmm.
PlayStation 2. They already. I don't want to say that they automatically came with the DualShock.
Yes, they did.
So that's why I'm like, so they, GameCube came with the same thing. Controllers came with the, DualShock 3 feet cord.
Yep.
They also came with a modem to hook up to the internet.
The GameCube?
Yep. It was on the bottom.
Okay.
And also too,
I think a big game for the online at that time, I think, was some of the wrestling games they made for it. Because I mean, I think that's where it came for a lot of. If you look at wrestling games now, especially the WWE games,
but you know what?
Highly creative mode.
The main thing was for the game.
What?
Pokemon.
That's also true.
The trade stuff, because the GameCube brought back one of the Nintendo's things and added another thing. It brought back a Game Boy player.
Oh, it did.
You snapped it on the bottom of it, and you could play Game Boy games on it. And Game Boy Color games.
I didn't even know that about that.
Yeah, it popped on the bottom of it. And also too, it came with. Also, you could buy another accessory. Was the Game Boy Advance adapter.
No shit.
So basically, there's another way where you can plug it into the controller, and then the other port was a wire spot. You plug that right into your Game Boy Advance. So that's another way when kids can trade their Pokemons.
Ah, that's why. But yeah, what I was saying though, I think because if you look at anything of the WWE games that comes out these days, the 2K WWE games, the creative mode people really get in deep with those things. I've seen some really detailed creating and with the way it is now, people can create these characters, and if you have the game, you can actually download it to your and use that person's character that they made.
Well, I'm not really sure what they use for the game
But
GameCube.
I guarantee it started around there because the GameCube was the first one that I know. No, I think it was 64.
What, started creating
They
characters?
started did the
It was 64. Remember we used to play?
Yeah, that's
and we
right.
said-
I made a few characters.
Yeah,
GameCube started getting into more detail when
yeah,
it came to their creations.
yeah. But I mean, it also had a modem for the two. Let's say so. After I mean, basically, really started. I think was the Dreamcast. We started hooking up the modem, but the Dreamcast wasn't for like playing online games though. It wasn't like, hey, you want to play a game with this person? No,
Oh,
the Dreamcast basically was a purpose to actually use it as a internet source to basically check email and all that bullshit.
yeah, because that's why
To
they
go on, to go on eBay
like
or
here's
whatever.
AOA discs again.
Well, that basically was the Dreamcast purpose. It wasn't for online playing. It was basically so people can like, hey, I can search the weather and
I think that's what my stepdad got confused with. Because I think he was hearing something like that, but I think he was thinking DVD player for some reason and just somehow got it mixed up. I don't know how he got that mixed up.
yeah.
Right.
I was pissed that day. I was like, fuck. So yeah, the last one is the Xbox, which I don't know how many two accessories that came with.
I actually don't know any accessories.
I know only one, and that's the only one I have on my list was the fucking DVD player remote.
Oh yeah. I gotta bring this back a little bit. The PlayStation 2 actually had that too.
Yeah, they did. But I mean, yeah. PlayStation 2, yeah, because PlayStation 2 did have a DVD player in there.
Because I actually had one.
Yep. But no, I didn't have one. I just used my fucking controller. But the Xbox, I think the only accessory I remember was just a remote because it had a DVD player in there. It had a built-in memory.
I'll tell you what I actually did like about the first Xbox. One of the reasons why I did get it, you was able to put in your audio CD, have the console absorb all the music, take it out, and it was on the system. Like if you played Grand Theft Auto Vice City or San Andreas, it would go right to the radio, the car that you were playing. I thought that was so cool at that time.
San Andreas wasn't on the Xbox.
It wasn't? I know I did Vice City, though.
Vice City was, and I think PlayStation or GTA 3 was.
Yeah, I knew
San Andreas, I think, came out for maybe it did come for the Xbox, but I know they cleaned it up and put it for the 360 though. But yeah, I don't know any more accessories. I was trying to say today. I was trying to look for more accessories. Everything that popped up was just controller. I'm like, okay.
These ain't much of the accessories when it comes to that.
But the reason why I bought an Xbox was because of Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic.
Oh, that's when that came out for, huh?
It came out only for the Xbox.
At that time.
Only for the Xbox. It wasn't for the PlayStation or GameCube. It was just for the Xbox. This is before internet. Really, I mean, well, we had internet, but it wasn't. I mean, this was actually before like YouTube because YouTube came at YouTube was founded by 2004. I think when YouTube was established, yeah. So this was like 2003. So this was like before YouTube and all that stuff. Yeah. And so I remember my friend John. He's like, "Hey, you go buy this." I was like, "I didn't see no review. I didn't see no pictures." I'm like, "All right." So I went down to Toys R Us. And I like, yo, can I get it?
Going off what he said.
I'm like, fine. And I'm like, I hope I like this damn game. And bought a Xbox for $180.
Damn.
Yeah. Because Xbox been out for since 2002, 2001.
That makes sense.
Because I remember like when the PlayStation 2 came out in 2001 or something like that, and then the Xbox was coming out just like maybe 5 months after that. Everybody's raging about this Xbox shit.
Yeah, I remember.
Xbox. I'm like, how's this Xbox, man? Because we already had, like I said, the
PlayStation.
We had 64. And we had PlayStation. I'm like, what the fuck's this Xbox shit? And it was a big thing. So, and then the price just was high and it dropped.
Damn.
So that's why I said it was originally like $300. I got it at Toys R Us for $180.
And you got it at least half off.
And then I'm like, I said, oh, I'll take Star Wars. And then I go home, hook it up. And I put Star Wars in and started playing. I'm like, this game's fucking awesome. This is before YouTube was out. This is before any like really can go onto like all that stuff. But
the only kind of reviews you could get was either someone you knew, a friend, or if you got like a magazine and you read an article about it.
Yeah. Well, the thing is,
really.
there was really no, because like Nintendo had Nintendo Power.
Yeah.
PlayStation, well, they didn't really have their own thing, but they had like Game Informers. But like Xbox wasn't really that big to be in their book.
Yeah.
Like you see like Halo and all, but it's like small. Nintendo, PlayStation, Xbox.
Yep.
Very small. It was like those two were like 50. It was like 50% Nintendo, 49% PlayStation, and 1% Xbox because it was like new, but it wasn't like crazy like it was.
Yeah.
Not until like really 360 came out. Then when like fucking people went nuts.
Yeah, 360.
But
like
I don't really know any accessories besides that controller.
Yeah.
It was just a TV or just a DVD remote.
Yep.
That's the only thing I remember for the accessories.
Yeah, because like I said, I don't think I'm really going to call it just a feature. I would call it would be, like I said, the download the music.
Yeah, that's more of a feature.
That's a feature. So,
yeah.
But that was the only reason I bought one.
Oh, okay. All right. Hey, we all buy something for
whatever reasons we justify of.
If you guys can think of any other fucking Xboxes, but we're gonna stop at the Xbox because, like he said, like CG said, if it goes any further, like PS3,
yeah,
you still call that modern. Probably another 2 or 3 years is gonna be fucking retro.
Oh yeah, I think it's coming close to being retro.
Yeah.
But I think it's still in the realm of modern.
Yeah. Because after GameCube was the Wii.
Yeah.
And that was 2007. That's still kind of.
That's like it's in a borderline of being retro and
just like PS3.
Modern. Yep.
Yeah.
It's right on that line there. So.
And you never know. We might have to come back to this part 2.
Yeah.
When they come retro, when the Wii and the PlayStation 3 comes out, because there are some stuff that I could talk about those two systems.
Oh, I'm sure.
There's certain things I like to talk about those because they were pretty fun.
Oh well. If it comes to that, then we'll get to it then.
Yeah. Like I said, it probably won't be any soon until it'll probably be really soon before those two become retro, just like the PlayStation. So PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, and the Wii will be retro probably within the next year or
couple years or so.
No, I'm not going to say a couple years. I'm going to say probably like the next 9 months to maybe probably like the summer of 2025 would probably be a retro.
Dude, and I think I saw some. I'll just make this real quick. I saw an article today of some. I don't think it's real, but a design of the PS6.
Oh man!
And what it showed was the controller having its own screen too.
Listen, people have been saying. I know. It's like the PlayStation 5 is not that old.
It isn't. So I'm sitting there thinking, why are they showing this?
I mean, by the end of this year, PS5 is going to be 4 years old.
Yeah.
But it doesn't realize that because for the first 2 years, you couldn't even fucking get them.
Yeah. Very few people had it.
Even though, like, it was 2 years old, but it's like, I didn't have one because stores were not stocked up. I had the money for it. It's just not like, hey, can I get one? And I wasn't going to go on eBay and say, hey, here's $1,500. Like, yeah, I'll wait 5 more months.
Exactly.
Because of the COVID thing. But I don't think it was COVID. I think it was more of like all these fucking people want to use PlayStation 5, I believe, had the same processor that people use in their PCs to farm crypto.
Really?
Yeah, so they're buying up all these damn chips and processors for their own PCs at home. And so they were like, yo, we can't make PlayStation 5s because we don't have any processors because people are buying them all up.
Wow.
That's what I heard. I don't know if it's true. I don't know. I could be wrong. I don't know. That's what I heard.
Like I said, that little article that I saw, that I'm not.
But even when PlayStation 5 was like 2 years old, I still heard people like PS6 right around the corner. I'm like,
huh? It's like, huh? It's like, why are you talking about this? It's only like 2 years old.
Yeah. I mean, I can understand now that they're talking about like, a Switch 2.
Yeah.
That's 7 years old.
Yes. And I did see an article about at least by April next year they're going to start unveiling what that is.
Well, I'm just
what it's gonna all
kind
look
of
like.
hoping that we can transfer our games over.
That is what I'm wanting to do.
Because I got some games now for my Switch. Like I said, I used to be a disc person, but now, like, since some of my games for my Switch, they don't make a physical copy of them.
Yeah.
So those I have to download.
Yeah. Like for me, they better put over those, the Nintendo stuff, Super Nintendo stuff, the Sega.
But more games.
Definitely more games, and they need to put more games in those.
I have to put the whole fucking library in there.
For real, especially for Nintendo. We were just talking about that, of how big the library of the original NES was.
Man, I would love for the whole
And they don't even
whole
have
shebang,
half.
the whole shebang, like every single game. By now, I mean,
They don't
if Nintendo would bump up their membership from, like, was it $50 or $60 a
I
whole
think it's
year?
$50.
$50. That's with the expansion pack, right?
Yeah.
If they sit there and say, "Hey, I'll pay you $100, have every single live game in library."
Yeah, you know damn well I'd pay for that. But yeah.
Yeah. So, anyways, guys, not really sure what time it is. I don't even know how long we've been talking for, but we are going to end it right here. The next podcast will be in 2 weeks. I'll have to reschedule something because it won't be that Saturday. It'll probably be a Sunday, because that Saturday, this guy here is going to go to a con, a mega con in Orlando, and I'm hoping to get the Goku actor, because I got another pop that I want him to sign, and also to the voice actor for Mario. I got a poster.
Yeah, you got to get that signed.
Charles, even though he retired as Mario, but he is now something with Nintendo.
Of course.
But I'm hoping to get his autograph as well, because last time I was up there, CJ got his autograph while I was in line with Nolan North to get Uncharted's, Drake.
Yeah, I get you. You have to pick
And
and choose what you
it's
had
like,
there.
at the time, I didn't know if I'm like, I could have said, hey, I could have brought my poster, say, hey, here's some money, get him signed too. But it's like, that's no fun. I would want to be there to meet the person. You know?
You can trust me. It was
So,
awesome meeting that guy.
I'm going to go up there in 2 weeks. That Saturday, hopefully, I will make a nice video. That's my main channel, Samurai. And then we'll probably have to do a podcast that Sunday, which is a Memorial Weekend, so I'll be off, whatever. So we'll have to get back to you guys then.
Yep.
As well, please subscribe, share, comment down below anything that you guys had accessories-wise. If we missed it, put it down in the comments.
I want to know.
For real. And what was your favorite accessory for any of the systems? I think mine. Well, if I had to choose one, probably. I mean, most of the stuff was all the same shit. Probably racing wheel from the 64.
You know,
I mean, if you think about it, I mean, the Nintendo is kind of generic stuff, the Power Glove and all that stuff. But if you really think about it, I think that 64 steering wheel was pretty cool.
oh yeah, I had to agree with that. Yeah, I think because I know I had a lot of fun with that steering wheel.
I mean, everything I named was kind of like the same stuff they had. It's just kind of beefed up or upgraded.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like when you see
Let's talk about the zappers, the gun, the first one, and then they had this one, and then they had the Wii version.
Exactly.
You know,
So
they
it
just
was just, beefed up or, stuff like that. So me, that steering wheel was pretty badass.
Yeah.
It really brought the game instead of just sitting there and playing the game like that with the joystick.
It made you feel like,
You're just
okay,
sitting
I'm
there
actually
doing
in
it.
Prime now.
Also, too, with that steering wheel, Cruising USA.
That's right.
Cruising USA, bro.
Yes.
Hey.
Cruising USA. Oh.
So yeah, guys, that'll be the end of the video. Thank you for watching. I am Joku.
I am CJ.
And like I said, see you guys in the next podcast.